What's good, my beautiful people? It's Nathan here, and in this video I'll be giving you guys 7 things that I wish I knew before moving to South Africa as an expat. Let's get into it. The first thing is the power situation. Now, correct me if I'm mistaken, but load shedding is no longer a thing anymore, at least as far as I'm concerned. There was an election period, I think in April, and then since then, I'm not sure if the elections are directly related to load shedding, but there's no longer any load shedding anymore, but they've done something different to replace it. There's something called load reduction. Now, the only good thing I liked about load shedding is at least you can check on your phone anytime there's a schedule when there's load shedding. But with load reduction, the small difference is it happens in certain areas, right? And as far as I'm concerned, there's no real schedule when load reduction can happen. So it can very much happen anywhere at any time, right? Now, I haven't had any load reduction in my specific area. And of course, if you decide to move here or travel here, please do your own research in terms of the places where there is load reduction. Now, what I have faced and what continues to happen is outages. In my complex, there has been random outages that have left me up to a whole day without power. Now, one of them happened last week when I was just doing my work as usual, about to start my day, and I checked downstairs and I realized the Wi-Fi wasn't working because the entire complex has gone off. So what do? I use my UPS device. If you don't know what a UPS device is, basically like a power bank we used to power up at least your Wi-Fi. So if you're taking calls or you need to use Wi-Fi urgently, it will last for 2 hours to ensure you have Wi-Fi for that period. But 1 hour turned into 2, 2 hours turned into 5, and before long, my UPS device was out. So I took my laptop with me, I went to a local cafe and started grinding from there instead. Now, it's very inconvenient. I don't like working out of cafes because for my career, I'm in remote sales. I need to have quiet. I don't want to have any background noise around me or anything like that. I need to be in a quiet environment like in my home where I can take my calls and be completely focused with my clients. But in that instance, I had to go to a cafe and take my calls. That wasn't even the worst example though. An even worse example happened when I was in a sales call. I was on a call with a client and my power went out. I was on the call on Zoom and I noticed, like, you know, when there's like a bit of buffer with your Zoom and you're like, you can hear a bit of lag and it freezes and it's like freezing mid-screen. I noticed the Wi-Fi went out. So I was there panicking because this is a sales call, meaning if I close the deal, which I didn't, by the way, I would have ended up with a few $100s. And what I did, I used my hotspot to try and use the Wi-Fi from my phone. Unfortunately, the deal didn't close. I can't tell whether it was because of the power situation or it just wasn't for him, but that was a very unprofessional and very inconvenient time for me, especially for me who's running a remote business and needs to have Wi-Fi continuously to make my business work. Okay, power situation is a problem here. I can't really complain about it though, because the thing is, I'm living in Africa. You know, there's going to be problems in Africa. I can't expect this place to be paradise. It comes with problems, right? The next thing is the concept of time. You probably heard me say the concept of black man timing. You probably think I'm just joking, but it's actually a real thing. So let me give you an example. Some things that South Africans say is now, or just now. So they'll tell you, yeah, I'll be there just now. Or I'm coming now, right? These phrases will mess with your head. I once had a meeting set for now, rookie mistake. I was there on the dot and 2 hours later, people started rolling in, right? At this point, I just go with the flow. I've realized I'm living in Africa. That means everything rolls in African timing. Now, when it comes to vibes, when it comes to going out on a Friday night, I'm chill. You wanna wait an hour? Heck, if you wanna wait 2 hours, I'm cool with that. But when it comes to actual business and important adult stuff, like my visa, which I've been waiting for several months now, I'm still waiting to this day, that is when it's more problematic. And one big problem I have, and I've spoken to other expats as well who want to move to South Africa, and the whole waiting period is that you could be like, I could be in the middle of trying to buy a property, or I could be building a relationship with a woman And then imagine having that taken away from you just like that because the visa didn't work or that you waited too long, you know? For me, I'm looking to make Johannesburg as my long-term home. I want to stay here indefinitely for the next few years, right? So for me, I'm now thinking a bit more long-term. And the thing I don't like about this visa application process, it gives you false expectations because it's always that thought in the back of your mind is it gonna come? When is it gonna come? Like the deadlines are so, there's no clear set deadline, which is one thing I didn't really like about the whole immigration process here. It's not like other countries which I've seen like Thailand or Bali, where you submit the application, you pay for the visa and you get it within a month or two. Here, they don't even tell you how long it's gonna take. I know people who've been trying to apply for permanent residency here for 2 years. Imagine waiting 2 years. You could have found your wife, you could have made an investment, you could have bought a house, and then all of a sudden, you're told you have to go back to wherever you're from because your visa was unsuccessful or whatever it might be. That's where my personal issue is. It's like they should at least communicate with you in terms of timelines. But what can I expect? Everything runs on African time in here. On a lighter note, one thing that really shocked me, and this is really what sold me actually, is the vibrant social life here in Johannesburg. Now, living in London, I did not really have an extremely outgoing social life. Not because I didn't have people I could have a social life with, but more or less because the vibes in London just isn't it. Because you go outside, it's grey skies, it's cold, everything's so expensive. And even if you do manage to save a few £100 to have a nice night out, the times which I did, I never really even personally enjoyed it. Compared to South Africa, where you have Afrobeats, you've got Amapiano, you've got such a vibrant nightlife and social setting. Now, even though myself, I'm more of an entrepreneurial type person, I'm not the kind of guy to be going out every single day or every other day, or I would even say at this point, every single week. Whenever I'm invited out somewhere, I will go. If one of my boys calls me, hey, let's go to Conca, let's go to here, let's go to there, I will go, right? I'm not the person to stay in my room all the time. And one thing I do like about South Africa is that when you do want to have a nice time, those options are available to you. Whereas in London, to be real honest with you, I've never really had a good time in London. Maybe if I go there again and I try, maybe it might be a different story, but at the moment, I have not really had an amazing time in terms of social setting in London. Now, let's move on to the dating scene in Johannesburg, because this is another selling point, and I know especially our African brothers, in fact, not even African brothers, I was on a call with a guy who lived in New York, and he said he found his girlfriend in Cape Town. And it's not only just us, African black people, it's also white people who are finding these South African women very, very attractive. That's one aspect of it. I mean, physical attraction, you're going to see many, many attractive women here. At least I have personally. I don't know what your type is. If you're the man that watching this, I know what your type is. But there's many beautiful, curvy, thick women here. The only thing you got to be careful of, and this is especially to the Nigerian guys, because I see it with them the most, is using your financial resources, using your money to try and get these women. It's like throwing in a reel with a rod, a fishing rod of bait, and you're trying to catch them, because these slave queens, they're going to feed onto the bait very easily. I was really starting to deep, like, why are these South African women, why do they love Nigerian men so much? And it's because Nigerian men love to spend. They spend, they know how to treat South African women well, they lead with their wallet. Now, I'm not the biggest fan of that. I'm not saying that if you have a girlfriend that you're seeing, I personally don't have a long-term relationship as of yet. I'm saying if you want to spend on your girlfriend who's shown you that she deserves it, absolutely do what you want to do. But I'm just not the biggest fan of leading with that, because then that's all she's ever going to want. Imagine you got a bad month in your career, bad month in your business, your P's are not where they were before. Now she's going to start losing affection for you because you've led with that. So that's one thing that if you're an international expat, I get it, geographic arbitrage, you're coming in with your 50K salary, 100K salary, 200K salary, you come here, you're going to be living like a king, but you just got to be very, very careful not to start simping after these women. Focus on the things that you can actually control, such as your appearance, your fashion sense, your intellect, your charisma. These things will go a longer way. And I'm turning this into a dating coaching thing, but like, this is just what I've experienced living here for 12 months. All right, the next thing is a safety situation, right? Let's talk about safety, because everyone, before I moved to South Africa, so I was living in Dubai for a little while, and people still had their opinions, but it wasn't as bad as we moved to South Africa. People said, okay, Dubai is cool, you know, new money, a lot of people are moving there. It was considered normal, but moving to South Africa, I got a lot of comments because of the stereotypes that people have said. Obviously, crime and even racism. Like, I know bless them, my family in the 90s, obviously apartheid and all those things, they think apartheid is still basically running in South Africa. Now, there are obviously some places in South Africa, I can't remember the exact name. I was watching a video from somewhere. There's like this place in South Africa where there's only Afrikaans people. I thought that was crazy, but there are obviously still remnants of the apartheid. You can see it, and especially in Cape Town and some areas, definitely there as well. But it isn't as bad as what people are making it to seem. And I do find a lot of the Afrikaans people that I've met here have been very, very nice to me. I haven't experienced in Johannesburg anyone really treating me different because I'm black, you know? But I do know in some parts of South Africa that is still prevalent. But in terms of crime, because that's more of an egregious problem that people are more worried about, at least my mum was worried about, because it's, you know, crime rate is inevitably very, very bad in Johannesburg, especially. But for me, I've been out many times. I still have my phone. It's never got stolen. I think I'm just a bit more street smart than the average person. By God's grace, nothing has happened to me here. No one has done nothing to me so far, right? Nothing has happened to me. And I feel like the reason why that is because firstly, I'm not someone who goes out every single day. And even if I did, I'm extremely cautious of how I manage my possessions, right? So for example, I'm not gonna have my phone out all the time, right? I'm gonna make sure it's in my pocket and away, especially when I'm in places where it's very crowded, because that can get stolen. Like one of my friends, he's had his phone stolen a few times. He's had his camera stolen. He's had things stolen, just taken. One thing to be careful of is when you're like, let's say you're in an Uber, and then you know what the traffic light when it stops, right? There's something called grab and go or smash and go. Smash and grab, that's it. Smash and grab. So what they can do, when you're in a very congested traffic jam, these guys can come in, smash your car, then take your phone and run. And there's nothing you can really do because you're in traffic, you can't move anywhere. So when you're in traffic, just make sure to have your phone tucked away, don't have it out, and you're good, right? I'm not saying that this can never happen to you. Again, we're living in Africa, these things can happen, but just be extra careful. But from what I've experienced and what I've heard from other people, there is knife crime, but I haven't really heard that from people, to be honest with you. All I've heard is petty crimes, like having your phone stolen or laptop stolen if you're not careful. But aside from that, it's not like London where there's people shooting and stabbing. I mean, it does happen here, but I've just not really heard it from anyone as of yet. One thing I do recommend, guys, is to speak to the local, speak to a neighbor, ask them the best places in your neighborhood to go. Where are some good places to go? Where should I not go? Because they're gonna know the place better than you will. Of course, you've got to have your own sense of street smart, but I think you'll be fine. I don't think it is as bad as you think it is. The next thing that no one told me, and this might sound a bit obvious, but Johannesburg or South Africa have their winters in the summers and their summers in the winter. So right now it is winter and we're in August, right? But in London, it's summer. But the thing that really kind of plays with me is that their winters are not like London winters. So this is winter, but it's not like, I mean, I'm wearing a jacket now because outside it's quite cold and it does get quite cold in the nighttime, but during the daytime, it's very, very warm. It's like the same temperature. I looked at the temperature between London and Joburg and it was the same. And now it's peak time summer in London and in Joburg, it's peak time winter. So winters are like London summers and Johannesburg summers are like something else you've never experienced before. That's all I can tell you. So you're not gonna have any snowfall. I mean, someone told me there was snowfall here. I've never seen a drop of snow anywhere in Joburg. But winters are not like winters you'd experience in London. And summers are not like anything you've experienced in your life before. That's one thing I can tell you. So completely different temperature climate, completely different weather. And I enjoy it. I like the warmer temperature. I like walking outside and getting vitamin D. In London, you can't really do that. You walk outside, it's freezing. You just want to stay inside and stay indoors and not socialize with anyone. Here, the vibes, the weather, it's so much better than London. And the final thing is lifestyle adjustment. Now, back in London, I was working 8-hour days. I was just a workaholic. I never really went out. I never really experienced life. I would argue, I wouldn't say depressed, but I would say I was miserable. I didn't really have anything nice to look forward to. And I think partially that was because I just didn't have a work-life balance. I didn't know really how to incorporate a work-life balance. When you're building yourself up in London, things are just so expensive and you can't do anything because you don't have enough money to do the things that you would normally enjoy. Compared to living here, I don't need to spend a lot of money to enjoy or have a nice night out or do something different. And by the way, night outs aren't the only things you can do here. There are other things you can do. You can go to theme parks. There's amusement things you can do as well. But majority of the time, I'd say when I go out, it's usually nightclubs and events and social gatherings. And the people here as well, they work normal 9-to-5 jobs, but they know how to adjust that they know how to have a work-life balance. They have a social life outside of their work. People here are overly generally quite warm. You can have a good time with people. So at first, I thought that people here weren't serious. That was the first impression that I got from people living in South Africa. These guys love to drink, they just party all the time. And I guess from the outside looking in, you can see from my perspective, because people here, more time, not everyone before someone throws a tantrum, but more time, people here love enjoying themselves. People love getting lit, right? But they do know how to balance it with their careers. People have stable jobs here. That's how I was thinking. How are they able to afford a section at tables and do all these kind of things? They have a 9-to-5 career. They have a job that's funding that lifestyle, but they know how to balance it. In my situation, I didn't know how to balance my work life with my personal life. And it's something I'm still adjusting to, but South Africans, they do it pretty well. And that's a good thing, because I feel like it's not good to just be working all the time and not have any social aspect of what you're doing. And I'm speaking for myself personally. I'm someone who works incredibly hard, but I feel like it's so nice and refreshing to take a break and do things with people that you enjoy being around or having a good time. And it's good to just take a step back, relax, enjoy life, enjoy the sunshine, explore a new place, and just create experiences. Living in South Africa has by far been the best decision I've made in my entire life. And I made a lot of good decisions, but South Africa has definitely been the best. And it's been one of the most unorthodox ones, because you don't really hear anyone from the UK moving to South Africa. But the biggest reason I'll say is also the geographic arbitrage. You know, I'm earning in pounds, I'm earning in dollars, and sometimes even dirhams as well. And then taking that currency and spending here, you can live like a king or queen and have an amazing lifestyle. I'm speaking mainly to my African brothers and sisters here. I feel like you will have an amazing time here. The one thing I just got to advise you to have is a location-independent career. What I teach is remote sales. I feel like that's by far the best location-independent career, the one that gives you stability and financial upside. But there are many more remote careers you can get yourself involved in if you want to have this kind of lifestyle and earning pounds, earning dollars, or earning whatever currency that's stronger, and then come and live in SA and have an amazing lifestyle. Of course, you got to figure out the visa situation your own. I'm not quite qualified to talk on that as of yet, because I'm still in the process. But once I am, I'll give you some more advice on relocating here as well. So if you have questions about anything about moving to SA, on expat life, what my experience like being here, just drop a comment down below. And of course, if you're interested in enrolling into my remote sales course, it'll be the first link in the description. It's Nathan. I hope you enjoyed that video and catch you in the next one.